Here now, former Secret Service agent for Bush Sr. and Clinton is Donald Lane to talk more about the priorities of this task force moving forward. Welcome back to you. Let's begin with the former president participating and being interviewed. How critical will that be for this investigation?
Hi, Marni. Glad to be back. I think that'll be really critical. You know, he's obviously a person that was majorly involved, to say the least, the target of the attempt. So, you know, it's not uncommon that he would be interviewed for this. I'm glad that he's cooperating fully. That's what I would expect. And I think, you know, it'll be important for them to get from his perspective how things unfolded and what happened. I think that'll be important.
Well, and one of the lines of questioning in the testimony so far with the Secret Service and the FBI, especially with the Secret Service, now former director, was how many times the Trump campaign asked for extra security. He'll likely be able to shed some light onto that.
Absolutely, yeah. You know, he'll know what was requested and what was either received or denied. And you're right, that will be important. Usually somebody in his staff would handle those types of details, but by this point he's been briefed on that, and that will also help to find out where the breakdown was here, to ensure that it doesn't happen again.
As a result, Donald, the Secret Service has advised Trump and his team not to hold any outdoor rallies. What do you make of that at this important point in both of the campaigns?
I think that that's not surprising to me. What that does, as the Secret Service goes through this evolution right now, the investigations that are going on, everything that they're looking into, moving things inside takes away a lot of concerns that you would have with geography. You know, if you're inside, you don't have to worry about any buildings that are close to the site or the podium. And you can control things a lot more in an inside site. At some point in an outside site, you have to stop security. I mean, you know, is it a mile? Is it 3 miles out? There becomes a point where it's just untenable. So moving things inside, I think, helps with that. The Secret Service has to strike a balance between the wants and the needs of the staff of the various protectees and the protectee, him or herself. So that doesn't surprise me.
But does it also feed into the lack of confidence right now in the Secret Service to be able to secure a site like that? I mean, we're not going to be able to stay inside forever.
No, that's true. That's true. I don't know. I think what they're doing here is trying to get to the bottom of exactly what happened. And once they do that, they'll feel comfortable to move forward. I have no doubt that now they could do an outside site. I think right now they're trying to get to the bottom of it, have a few more answers perhaps before they do that. But you're right. Inevitably, you know, things will move outside. Things are outside all the time in the Secret Service. So, you know, I have no doubt the agency will be able to rebound from this and protect those folks moving forward.
Let's go through some of the details now that we have them, Donald. A few more, even this morning, that are being reported. One, the internet searches of the shooter, looking at explosives and other things online. Also, the New York Times reporting that a counter sniper with local law enforcement noticed the shooter about 100 minutes before the shooting. How will all of this factor into the investigation now with this task force?
Well, in terms of the shooter looking up, you know, explosives and things like that, that doesn't surprise me. I've said from the beginning that I believe this young man falls more in the category of, you know, a school shooter or a person who wants to do mass destruction. I believe he put this plan together very quickly. He identified a target that was going to be in town, so it was convenient for him. So, you know, that doesn't surprise me at all.
What else troubles you as we learn more about the timeline and how soon, at least people in the crowd, even some law enforcement, were made aware of a possible threat?
Yeah, that's a problem. And that's something that the Secret Service definitely needs to address. They need to ensure that the interoperability of their communications is more seamless with state, local, other federal law enforcement. Whoever is helping you on that site, you want to be able to get messages to them in real time or as close to real time as possible, get them relayed and have decisions made on what to do. So that's a huge area of concern here, and no doubt will be the target of all the investigations into this attempted assassination.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.